Hi everyone, I hope you're well and that you had a good weekend. So welcome to this reading specifically for the 1111 portal for 2020. So as you know, this happens kind of midweek, and we've got a lot going on astrologically. So if you haven't seen my video that I've done on YouTube about the 1111 portal, I do have a section at the beginning that's all about the astrology. So you might want to go and check that out, because I think it relates quite nicely to relationships, particularly that Venus-Mars opposition that's happening. And of course, on top of that, there's the Jupiter-Pluto, the final pass of that, which happens just after the 1111 portal on the 12th of November. Very big transit that takes us right back to that 444 gateway in April. So yeah, go and check that out if you're interested. But anyway, I thought it was a good time to just check in with the energies as far as love and relationships is concerned, because all of these themes got highlighted at that I Ching reading that I did on YouTube. It was very much about kind of erotic encounters, sacred union, but more sacred union within self, as well as how to work with sexual and the so-called telluric energies of the earth, the kind of snake energy of Kundalini and so on, which is mirrored, of course, in things like underground streams, ley lines, and so on. So as usual, I've got my two decks here. I've got the lunar and the solar deck, and I've had some crystals sitting on them. So let's find out what's happening between these two energies. Okay, and then this is going to be where things are heading in the near future. Alright, so let's find out what's been going on in the recent past. Wow. So you've got a king and a queen here, but they're not of the same pair. So that's interesting, you know, first of all. So it seems as though things have kind of come to some kind of crux or decision point. We've got the this is justice, as well as the 8 of spades, which is the 8 of swords. So it looks as though there's some sort of important there's a pivot point going on here, excuse me, where some kind of decision needs to be made, or people need to make up their mind, or you know, possibly about commitment, because we are talking about the scale of justice. So sometimes it can be about a marriage, it can be about a divorce, or it could simply be about weighing up the pros and the cons of a situation to work out what's kind of in our best interests. And then here we've got the queen and the king. Well, we've got the Queen of Pentacles and we've got the King of Wands. So I mean, in terms of the feminine and masculine energies, they seem to be on slightly different pages. So the feminine energy, the Queen of Pentacles, is very much a kind of an earthy energy. It's very nature-based. It's about nurturing. It's about knowing one's sense of worth and value, about being quite grounded, quite practical about things, but also kind of wanting something stable, you know, a stable connection kind of going forward. Whereas the King of Wands, on the other hand, which is also the Magician, the King of Wands is fire energy, so it's a bit more unstable, a bit more volatile and excitable, a bit more passionate. And this energy really is, it's kind of a little bit more egocentric. It's a bit more about getting attention. This king likes his own way. He's a go-getter. He can be an entrepreneur, but he's somebody who is quite extrovert, whereas the Queen of Pentacles tends to be slightly more of a homebody, a bit more introverted. So it could be that these two energies at the moment want different things. That could be what we're seeing here. The King of Wands, very often, you know, particularly if we think about it with the Magician, this is very much, to me, about willpower. It's about agency. It's about taking action. It's about initiation. But it can also be quite body focused, you know, kind of centered on looks, on status, that kind of thing. Whereas the Queen of Pentacles energy is a lot more about home, family, you know, kind of sitting around the table, having a nice meal, sharing a meal with loved ones, that kind of energy. So as I say, it could be that these two people are not quite on the same page. It could also be that the the feminine energy has a strong sense of her own worth and is quite, not stubborn, but just rooted in knowing what she wants. And perhaps the King of Wands energy, the more masculine energy, kind of thought they could kind of come in and maybe change, sort of charm the other individual, you know, because the magician energy can be a little bit manipulative sometimes. But it can also be about manifestation. You know, if we think about, we've got this diamond here at the center of the solar plexus for the Queen of Pentacles, and then we've got the 4 elements here at the center of the magician. So this could also be about manifesting, but we seem to have kind of come to a point now where perhaps the signals that have been given out to the cosmos or the universe have been a little bit mixed, or it's kind of what you sow you reap. You know, there's also that element of karmic justice or karmic balancing going on, cause and effect. But anyway, let's see what else is happening before we comment any further, and of course we will clarify with trinkets. So let's see. Okay, interesting. So the lunar energy here is actually seems to be in quite a good position. We've got the 8 of Wands here, and you can see this is an image of a bird on her nest, and this is really about swift action. It can be about travel, it can sometimes be about, well, often about communication, but it's about momentum and about shifts. So I think it fits quite well with that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that we've got this week. This person seems to be on the cusp of making major decisions, moves. There's momentum building essentially. So if this is about manifestation, I kind of feel as though maybe things have reached a tipping point, and now that energy is about to kind of manifest. But certainly that there is movement here. Now on the right we've got the solar person, and they're represented by the 4 of Swords in reverse as well as Death in reverse. So it seems as though the solar energy is kind of in a period of having retracted their energy a little bit, and it seems as though, you know, the 4 of Swords very often is about resting or recuperating either after illness or some kind of setback. But when we got it in reverse, there can be a sense of not wanting to sort of rest. That's one interpretation. Not wanting to do what's necessary in order to sort of recover. Or it can be, if we think about Death in reverse, it can be about somebody who's resisting change. So you know, Death is of course very Plutonian, and you know, of course we're in Scorpio season at the moment, so it's all about kind of death and rebirth and transformation. And it seems as though if this is represented here by the King of Wands energy, the magician, then it could be that this person is resisting changes and they're being quite willful. They kind of want things to go in a particular way, you know, according to their sort of desires and will kind of thing. And maybe this person isn't really kind of playing ball. But let's find out what's going on below the surface. Oh, interesting. Wow. So 2 4s in reverse here. Interesting energy. So both in reverse, we've got the 4 of Swords being reiterated here in the lunar person, and we've got the 4 of Wands energy also in reverse. Now when it's in the upright position, this is the 1111 card for many readers. So this is really about stable commitment. It's about a passionate connection, but one that has the ability to last and to kind of go the distance. You can see there's a pathway here, and in the distance are the couple with other people, and the sun is rising, so there's a sense of longevity. But with it in reverse, the person on the right is maybe not ready to commit. That could be what's going on here. And the person on the left, the lunar person, possibly doesn't want to acknowledge that, or is being doesn't want to kind of give up on the connection, and that's perhaps why we've got Death in reverse. So there's definitely a sense that we've reached a tipping point here, but it seems as though on some level both individuals are in denial. So very interesting energies. Now let's see where both parties see things going in the future, or would like things to sort of go. Right, so we've got the Queen of Swords there and the 10 of Wands. Interesting. So for the lunar person, I kind of feel as though they are very intent on getting what they want. For them, there's no compromise. It's kind of, you know, the Queen of Wands is very Queen of Swords is very no-nonsense. She keeps her boundaries strong, and she's very clear about what she will accept and what she won't. She's also she's got a very good BS detector, let's put it that way. So if she feels that somebody is spinning her a line, she's not going to sort of stand for it. So I think this person wants the truth. They kind of feel as though perhaps maybe the King of Wands has kind of spun them a pretty line, has sort of said all the right things, but their actions haven't really matched the promises kind of story. And so this person just wants to know the truth, and then to either cut their losses and move on, or or for things to move forward in truth, though, because this is swords energy, it's air energy, which is all about communication and about honesty. On the right, we've got the Ten of Wands in reverse. So this for me is all about dropping burdens. So on some level, I really do feel quite strongly that the King of Wands energy, this solar person, just isn't ready for commitment. They've considered commitment to be a burden. I think that's what's also potentially going on. That's why I've got the Four of Wands in reverse in the unconscious position. So they may have said all the right things, but they're not ready to do what it takes to make the relationship work long term. That's what I feel. And so for them, commitment is a burden. And they want to kind of drop that burden. So that's one interpretation. The second interpretation is that perhaps they felt a little bit stressed, perhaps things haven't been going well for them in other areas of their life, and so that they just, at this stage, they can't handle the extra sort of responsibilities that go with a committed long-term relationship. Or it could be that there's been circumstances beyond their control which has kind of arrested their development, or has kind of put things on ice, and maybe this is why this person is championing a bit for things to start happening, and sort of things have kind of come to a halt, or sort of a brief stalemate. But let's clarify now with some trinkets just to find out more. Yes. So with the anchor to the Queen of Pentacles, we definitely are talking about somebody who wants a stable relationship, a long-term commitment. The anchor is all about stability and about feeling rooted. So this is about kind of grounding, and that can also be about being realistic about what is possible within the connection. As I say, earth energy is very different to fire energy, so it could be that these two people are on different pages when it comes to what they want from a connection. Okay, so with the Moon to the Magician and the King of Wands, I kind of feel as though we're either talking about somebody who's quite passionate, because the Moon can represent emotions, and so they might sort of blow hot and cold a little bit. One day they're really into something, the next day they're bored of it. Or it could be that that they are not revealing everything about in terms of how they feel. The Moon can sometimes be about secrets, or what we repress or kind of deny. Okay, so we've got the Tower here, and that's actually been a big theme for the beginning of November. I don't know if you saw the forecast I did for the American presidential elections, but the Tower kept coming up, and it also came up in relation to the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. So go and check out my my blog post on astrologysphere.com if you're interested in that. But with the Tower to Justice, I kind of feel as though both parties have withdrawn to get advice, and to think things over in isolation, kind of away from the connection, in order to sort of decide what to do for the best. That's what I'm sensing there. Okay, wow. So yes, the Eight of that's very interesting. The Scythe and the Eight of Wands here, to me, kind of talks about, it can allude to this Queen of Swords energy. Maybe this person kind of called a halt to proceedings because they didn't feel as though the other party was on the same page as them. Or it could be about swift movement, especially combined with the Eight of Wands here, which is very swift energy. So this person wants a change. They want things to progress, or else they want the connection to sort of end so that they can find something else. But either way, they're very keyed into that Jupiter-Pluto energy, which is all about major transitions and shifts. Whereas on the other hand, you know, I kind of feel with death in reverse, maybe this person isn't really keen on kind of changing their ways. But, you know, we do have the same card repeated in the unconscious position here. So it could be that perhaps what the feminine energy needs to realize is that they maybe had rose-tinted specs, and you know, what's that saying? When somebody tells you who they are, listen the first time. So it could be that the King of Wands was kind of giving off indirect signals about their true intentions, and this person didn't really want to listen. They were in a hurry to kind of move things forward. That's the other way we could read that, and it led to the connection sort of snapping. Right, let's find out what's going on with the solar person. Okay, interesting. So we've got the dog here. The dog for me can be about one of two things. It can either be about a soulmate, so they may really have felt that they'd met somebody that they had a very strong connection with, but the dog can also be about friendship. So perhaps this individual kind of felt as though they couldn't necessarily offer the commitment that the lunar person was seeking, but they did want to remain in contact. They did feel it was a significant connection. It could also be what has kind of caused a little bit of turmoil here with the Eight of Swords. They didn't really know what to do for the best. You know, kind of a case of wrong timing. Yeah, because you know, the lunar individual definitely felt as though there was a kind of meeting of, on the emotional level, there was a connection here at the heart sort of level, and I think they were hoping that things would continue to progress and transform into something more stable. Wow. So with the fish to the Four of Wands here, I mean, this is another, both of these are kind of soulmate indicators for me. This one can also be about going with the flow, and it's interesting that we've got this path that looks a little bit like water. So I kind of feel as though the message here is the path of true love never did run smooth, that perhaps it's a case of right person, wrong time, and this person definitely felt the connection. They did feel the connection, but maybe they weren't in a position, because of whatever these burdens were, to commit. Okay, so the Queen of Swords, let's have a trinket for that. Okay, right. Okay, so the mice to the Queen of Swords for me is somebody who doesn't think that the connection is really going anywhere. The mice is all about kind of what we feel is eating away at us, or what is, it's kind of how can I put it? It is what we're kind of losing. So it could be that the lunar person wants to give the solar person an ultimatum, and that they're almost kind of, they've lost hope in a way for the connection. That they're thinking, not in lack mentality, but just that they kind of think there's not really enough there to sort of justify the connection going forward. There's not enough of a foundation really in order for things to progress. Now it could also be that they feel as though it's kind of too little too late. So, you know, maybe they feel like the ship has sailed, kind of thing. Wow. So we've got the crossroads here. So if we put that with the Ten of Wands, there's definitely a sense of needing to make a choice, which I think is reiterating this justice energy here. So I think this person's kind of laid out what they're hoping for, and really sort of put their cards on the table, and they're kind of saying, right, well, it's now up to you to sort of make up your mind. And so this justice card, I think, pertains more to the solar person than the lunar person. The lunar person may be ready to sort of move on. But the solar person feels as though they've got a choice to make, an important decision, and it seems as though they're hesitating on some level. And I think it's because they do feel a strong connection to this person emotionally, but circumstances may not be allowing them to sort of commit fully to the connection. So they kind of feel like they've got a difficult choice to make, and that may be why we've got the Eight of Swords here, which is often about anxiety, feeling a little bit trapped or not sure which way to sort of move next, or what to do for the best. But anyway, let's see what happens in the near future. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so this could go one of two ways. With the King of Cups here, we have somebody who is revealing their true feelings. So this is somebody who has deep hidden emotions often, and they don't really know how to express them. It's quite sort of still waters run deep kind of energy, which is very fitting for Scorpio actually. So it could be that there is some kind of revelation. You know, this is the moon card with the King of Cups. So it could be that there is a heartfelt conversation in the near future in which both parties put their cards on the table. I kind of feel as though this person has already, but maybe they are kind of hiding something, or they haven't said everything. And then I think that a decision will need to be made. But it does look to me as though both parties do want to lay foundations, and are prepared to work at the connection on some level, because we've got the Three of Pentacles here, which is very often about laying solid foundations. It's often in the Rider-Waite deck, it's about the apprentice and the master, and the kind of laying of the foundations of the cathedral. So something can be built here. That's what I feel. But with the Eight of Cups here, this is also the Eight of Cups, there is a sense of needing to move on, of shifts needing to happen. So this could be a case of both parties, putting their cards on the table, and then if what they want doesn't match up right now, there may be a need to sort of walk away, perhaps in the short term, but perhaps with a view to kind of coming together further down the line. And that could be why we've got the Scythe here. On the other hand, it could be that sometimes you're kind of walking away from the 8, but you're walking towards the 2. You're walking towards the 10 of Cups. So it could be walking towards something, but that would require a kind of a shift, or actual momentum, or a decision on the part of certainly the solar person, because I kind of feel like the energy is a little bit blocked. So it would require them to sort of revision their idea of what commitment means, not see it as a burden, or potentially, in the short term, there may be a need to just be friends, in the short term, because perhaps it is a case of, right person, wrong time. There might be a lot going on in the solar person's life that's beyond their control, and they don't really have the bandwidth to offer what the person on the left wants. So perhaps the lunar person needs to be a little bit less, perhaps a bit more compromising, just a bit more understanding. That's the downside of swords energies, that can be a little bit cold sometimes. So just something to bear in mind there. But let's pull some trinkets just to clarify these 3 cards. Okay, yeah, so these people could be at a distance from each other with the ship here. So it could be that they are in different countries, or they're from different nationalities. But I also feel as though this is mimicking the 8s that we've got here, which is all about shifts that are needed. And I think this is speaking to that Jupiter-Pluto energy, that in order for things to move forward, some kind of shift or breakthrough has to happen in order for things to sort of progress. It could also be a kind of breaking of the damn wall, if we think about this as being, it's interesting, we've got the infinity symbol here in the center of the King of Cups. And it could also be about breaking down heart walls, if there are heart walls, protection around the heart, perhaps due to past experiences, in order to express, for these emotions to gush out like the water is. Because if I think about it, there is quite a lot of water symbolism here. We've got the moon, we've got the fish, and we've got the ship. So, this for me is very scorpionic kind of energy. So I think there's a need to sort of ride the crest of, the crest of emotional waves here, and to sort of move, to go with that flow, you know, to allow things to sort of flow one way or another. Okay, interesting. This is the coffin, and it's all about endings. So I kind of feel as though there is some cycle coming to an end at this 1111 portal, and it may have to do with experiences in the past of what it means to kind of work at something, with, you know, with the Three of Pentacles energy here. Yeah, but definitely some kind of karmic cycle ending. Very interesting. Could also be the stalemate ending. Wow. Okay, so there's definitely hope in this connection. We've got the star here, and I think, you know, if we pair this with the moon, I think what we are kind of looking at here is, you know, there is healing work to be done, you know, potentially in both parties. You know, because if we think about the Four of Swords, as I say, it can also be about recovery from a setback or an illness. Sometimes it can be from heartbreak. And both people seem a little bit stuck, you know, with death in reverse here. So it may be that that in order to sort of move forward, both parties need to remove blocks, and that could be what the coffin is referring to here. Blocks to sort of move forward, or building solid foundations for something new. So healing is needed, but also I think there's hope here for the future. So this could be a moving towards the Ten of Cups rather than away from the Eight. So it's moving towards the Two, and that makes 8 plus 2 is 10. So I do feel as though, you know, if nothing else, these two people could benefit from, and they certainly seem to be willing to sort of talk to each other and to kind of open up and say how they feel, and that could lead potentially to friendship in the short term, rather than a kind of, you know, everything or nothing, a kind of all or nothing. I think this person needs to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to the connection, because if they do feel that there is a strong connection and it's simply a case of wrong timing, there's nothing that can be done about that. Sometimes it's worth just, you know, staying in touch and being friends in the short term until circumstances change, and you know, things can kind of progress forward. But there's definitely hope for the future here, as I say, with the star, and the star can also be about recognition. So I do feel that this is about emotional recognition, feeling seen and validated, you know, having feelings acknowledged, expressed and acknowledged here. And that can be very healing in and of itself, you know, just kind of getting things out rather than sort of suppressing them. But let's get some final advice from the Universe Has Your Back deck. Oh, I find these so difficult to handle. Oopsie. Okay. Okay, interesting. So when I'm connected to my joyful presence, I attract support from the universe. So, I mean, it's very interesting. We do have, I mean, it's quite antithetical to the sort of Scorpio energy that's around at the moment. But what is fascinating is that just before this particular 1111 portal, we do have a wonderful Sun-Neptune, I think, trine or sextile happening. And that's very dreamy, uplifting energy. So this could be asking you to sort of tune into that Sun-Neptune energy, and just try to sort of keep things relatively positive. You know, I think this is particularly true, as I say, of the of both parties actually. If we think about the Eight of Swords, can be about you know, feeling a little bit anxious and not really sure what to do for the best. I think sometimes all that's required is to kind of let go of expectations and to move, to see what's positive in the situation. So as I say, if there's a friendship here, that's a good thing. That's something to be celebrated, rather than kind of saying, oh, well, I'm not getting what I want. You know, sometimes you have to kind of let go of your expectations, and then things turn out, you know, even better than expected. So maybe this is what this is talking to. But I think it's definitely saying cultivate joy, and this will attract support from the universe. Here, you know, I think alluding to the star, that, you know, things might end up turning out better than you think. Oh wow. So with the stork here, this for me is all about positive changes. So I do feel as though if both parties do kind of come into the heart space, you know, with this King of Cups energy, and they are able to listen to what the other person says without judgment. You know, the Queen of Swords can be a little bit judgy sometimes. I think that, you know, defenses can kind of come down, and both parties can really understand where the other person is coming from, and this can lead to a shift in and of itself, accepting where both people are. Sometimes that's enough for energy to shift kind of by itself, and then, you know, obstacles sort of fall away. We take off our blindfold and we realize that there may be swords kind of all around the back of us, but actually we can move forward. There's nothing encumbering our movement forward. You know, if you think about the traditional Rider-Waite card there. So definitely positive changes coming from this 1111 portal. Probably a lot of healing, the end of a cycle, but shifts and momentum kind of happening. So I think overall a really positive message. I hope you've enjoyed this reading, and you know, do look out for the forecast that I'll be doing for the upcoming new moon in Scorpio on my YouTube channel. But in the meantime, sending you lots of love and healing, and I hope you really you know, make the most of this 1111 portal.